Kia ora and welcome to the National Arboretum of New Zealand here at Eastwoodhill. Te Mararaka nui o Aotearoa Whakahutiu. So today we're going to take a brief look into the 100-year master plan that we have here to ensure that our trees are going to be here for the future. Okay, so why do we need a 100-year master plan? Well, a couple of reasons. Firstly, we here at the Arboretum are indebted to our founder, William Douglas Cook. Now, Cook, when he planted out this Arboretum, had no other option but to plant trees as soon as they came off the boat. He didn't know anything about propagating trees and all of those myriad of requirements to get seeds to actually germinate. So he hooked up deals with the likes of Hilliers from over in the UK, and they would literally send over saplings all the way by boat to Eastwoodhill. So that meant that they'd been on a boat for 9 months up to sometimes. So as soon as they arrived here, Cook planted them out. But he didn't plant them out in any order. Most arboreta are laid out via genus, so maybe all of your oak trees are together, all of your pine trees are together and so on, or they reflect the geographical spread of those countries as they arrived here. So you may have all the trees from North America together, or your trees from Europe, or show you how sporadic and to no order this area was planted out with. This is no better example than to show you. So you've got a tree directly behind now, which is the Himalayan oak from Nepal. And as we pan round, we've got trees directly to my left-hand side there, Tillias from Asia. And then as we go around a bit further, what we'll have is the Lebanese oak, which is obviously from the Lebanon, Middle East. And in the distance, we've got more trees from North America and other trees from Europe. So there is literally no order here. Not having an order is great because we've got the trees, but we need to be able to manage these trees into the future. And once they've become 100 years old, they've got very large. And so we've got to have a distinct plan to be able to say what happens when these trees need to start to be worked upon or indeed removed. And that's where the 100-year master plan comes in. It was created by the then curator, Paul Winan, and he was heavily helped with the team at Nelson, Beard Waltz, and Thomas Waltz, who was the principal architect involved with the project. Now, a 100-year master plan gives us an opportunity to do something over a long period of time, obviously. But it also gives us an opportunity to be able to start to rethink how we want to present our trees. We know that we're going to have to, whether it be through cuttings or propagation via seed, make sure that we contain and manage those trees from those existing trees into the future. So we're going to be propagating them on. But then it's a case of where do they go? How can we make an impact so when people come and visit us that they get an experience that they'll be able to take away with them? And so the plan is to now curate the trees in a fashion where you will literally walk the world in our trees. And this area here at Pear Park will become part of the North American ecozone. And each ecozone has its own designated ecoregions, which are very specific to those individual locations throughout that ecozone. So for instance, in North America, we have the areas such as the Appalachian Mountains. So essentially, we have a 100-year big jigsaw puzzle. The 2,000 or over 2,300 species that we have here all need to be propagated. All of them need to be grown on, and so that when a tree is removed, we make sure that because of those geographical locations, the right tree is going into the right space. And that allows us then to be able to take people on that journey. It allows us to be able to then follow the other elements of the master plan, such as the infrastructure projects, the link road, the way that that will integrate people around the Arboretum, the linked gardens, how we can story tell and how we can get across the fact is that we've got two ecozones merging, such as New Zealand and North America, such as Europe with Asia. It also allows us at those link gardens to highlight and story tell in those regions. Why is global warming important? Why is water and the nutrient cycle so important? Those are great places to tell those stories. And as people work their way around the Arboretum, giving them something that's a little bit different. Okay, so to go show you a little bit more detail on how this actually looked at the Arboretum, if you jump onto our website, eastwoodhill.org.nz, home screen will land here, and then if you go to Science and Data and you go to Master Plan, that's nice and straightforward. What you'll see is two options, see it in a 2D Master Plan map or a 3D Master Plan map.
both give you exactly the same information. The 3D master plan map just gives you a little bit more of an understanding of our undulations and just how the layout of the Arboretum sits in a three-dimensional format. It's pretty cool, but we'll just focus on the 2D master plan map for now because it's a little bit easier to load. So click on the 2D master plan map, and then the good friends at ArcGIS have do their brilliant wizardry, and we have been able to interact with this really well. So we just close that down for now, and we'll send this off. So in the master plan, as we said, the reordering, this 100-year jigsaw puzzle that we've got in front of us has been laid out essentially to where the majority of the collection within these regions reflects those eco zones. So if, for instance, we do have a high percentage of trees from Europe in here, we have a high percentage of trees from Asia here, and so on and so forth. So the master plan areas are Palearctic Europe, Palearctic Asia, and then you've got Neotropics, the Central and South Americas, Central and South Africa for the Afrotropics area, Australasia, and we have split out Australasia with New Zealand. Again, just for ease for our native section, which is very important to us. Indo-Malaya, the Southeast Asia area, and then one of our larger areas is the North American and the Arctic regions. Again, reflecting the fact is that we do have a large amount of North American trees within the collection. The core is essentially remains very similar to its current areas. This is where you have the visitor centre. This is where you have features such as the old tree cathedral, and if we zoom in, we can just see the outline of it there, and you can see the parking. This is where we're parking. This is our building, and here is the formal homestead, Cook's old house, and his more formal garden. The homestead gardens are recognised as a garden of national significance, and that carries with it a 5-star rating. So the core pretty much stays the same, but as we said, there's lots of other features within the master plan, not only from a tree perspective, but also from our infrastructure requirement. This thick black line that goes all the way around is our link road. The link road serves two main purposes. One, to get people out into the Arboretum more so that they can essentially go all the way around the Arboretum via a vehicle so that we can get people out there. With that vehicle access, it also allows us to create, allows us to manage the Arboretum a little bit easier. Areas such as over here, over in Millwood and the Neotropic area, they are quite difficult to get to with heavy machinery should we need to do any work in there, and that means we can't do work in there for 3 months of the year because it's just too wet. Millennium Wood is outside of the master plan, but that was a planting plan that went together to celebrate the year 2000 and the new millennium. All of the trees that were planted here were donated by locals and people from New Zealand and overseas as well, actually. So it was a donated area, but there was all of the trees there were selected from the trees within the main collection that had a fantastic autumn color. So in April, which is our autumn, this is just an absolute display of color, and it's absolutely beautiful and well worth the visit. One of the other infrastructure projects that has been completed is the new tree cathedral. You can just see the layout there. This has been laid out into the same footprint as Westminster Abbey, and it follows north, south, and east and west as they all did. And that infrastructure went in about 6 years ago. So as we zoom out a little bit, we can see the eco zones, but as you may have just seen as I zoomed out, as you zoom back in again, you'll start to see the areas of eco regions within those zones. So for instance, here's a great example where in the North American eco zone, we've got things like the Sierra Nevada coniferous forest, we've got the Willamette Valley forest. These are all World Wildlife Fund for zones, World Wildlife Fund zones, eco zones and eco regions, which are recognized as specific sets of species which represent those areas, and we are going to put those areas, put those trees into our areas here at the Arboretum. And there are 69 of these eco regions throughout the whole of the master plan. So as we start to move around, you'll start to see the quite specific spaces of those. Korea, China, as we come through Africa, you've got Zambezi, you've got the Albany thickets, which is South Africa. Madagascar, we've got quite an interesting area of Madagascan species here. Again, you wouldn't normally expect to see those. And then as we come through Indo-Malaya, we've got areas such as Indochina, Central Indochina, the Western Himalayas, the Eastern Himalayas. All of these trees species are currently within this collection. It's one of the most unique elements of our collection, is that we represent trees from 81 different countries from around the world and all 6 continents that have trees upon them. So this is a fantastic resource, and this master plan has been laid out for us to be able to curate them differently, as we've discussed. Other new areas of infrastructure that are obviously laid out within the master plan as well is this area here, which has been earmarked for not only new staff facilities as mentioned there, but also for a laboratory for people who want to come here and do research with the collection. This is a multi-purpose building that will be sustainably built. Green products, lots of timber obviously would be great for us to be able to utilize that. It also form as a space for additional accommodation, additional spaces for seminars, and for functions and facilities. This little area here is actually a bridge which will then link into the new cathedral for events. People who may want to have a wedding in here, or people who may want to have a funeral service, or they want to come and have a service to represent a local or indeed national events such as Anzac Day. What a great space to be able to worship in this space here. View shows quite the enormity of the project that we have. It's going to take 100 years because we're not going to be proactively removing trees unless they need to. We need to be actively going out there and collecting as many seeds and cuttings as we can from the 2,300 species that we would then need to be able to propagate on and move. And then as a space occurs, or as those species grow on, you can see the spaces that we have to be able to plant them out in those specific locations. The other important factor to remember is that you can see gaps here. We have space within this plan to either extend as a result of discussions with, I don't know, people around the Central Korean deciduous forest, for instance. They say to us, we've got a number of additional species from that eco-region that we'd like to add. Well, we've got the space to add that in. Also, we may need the space for a new eco-region that people want us to be able to host, and they want us to look after and to take on. Again, we could create a new eco-region for that space. Again, going back to the arboreal art principles of being a safe haven for the rarest and threatened trees from around the world. And so that's really, really important. Now, to do that, we do have a bit of an uphill struggle currently. We are unable to accept new to New Zealand species. So if it's not currently within New Zealand, we have to get a permit for it, and they have to go through some relatively strict, or sorry, very strict biosecurity and phytosanitary parameters. So to front foot that, what we have highlighted in this area of this paddock, which is currently just being utilized for grass and for some cattle, is to actually create a biosecure and phytosanitary facility. Seeds will come in here, they will be monitored, they will be measured, they will be ensured that they can that they are germinated and that they do not pose any other threat with regards to disease or pests. And then essentially what will happen is that they will then be trialed out in this area here. With the ability to, should it need be required, as per any agreement that we set up with the government, for these trees to be destroyed if it's deemed for them to be a weed or other type of pest to the greater New Zealand environment. Now, for the arboreal art principle, going back to Cook's foreboding and making sure that we've got these resilient collections, ex situ collections, with as much biodiverse material as possible to happen, this is going to be a key element of infrastructure for us. And we've got to have really strong conversations with the government for us to allow us to do this. So we are extremely aware that we've got a lot of work to do with the trees that are currently forming part of our collection, but we really do want to push into this area as well, because we have a great opportunity to increase the diversity in our collection. As you can see from this plan, just how remote our collection is. There is no big conurbation here until you get to Gisborne, which is just down here. This space is an ideal spot for the rarest trees. We don't get much in the way of foot traffic here, so footborne diseases, your phytophthora and things like that are pretty limited. We do have biosecurity requirements when you get here. And so, but what a great space here for us to be able to take on some of the rarest trees in the world. We can prove that we can grow trees from all of these different spaces. So why shouldn't we have the opportunity to grow more? There will be some pushback with this, but it's a great opportunity for us to have a real meaningful impact for global tree conservation.
The Masterplan encapsulates and emphasises our position for the next 100 years. It's an imperative part of our makeup currently. So it's really important that we have this Masterplan as our guiding principle and our guiding document. Fundraise for the long-term benefits that are laid out within it. So we've repositioned our philanthropy and our options for people and their ways to give to us based around the Masterplan. So the eco zones are available for support and partnership, along with all of the eco regions. We are looking for a magical figure of $1.5 million New Zealand dollars every year. With that, we are able to then employ 8 new members of staff, specialists and generic workforce which will help us maintain this place into the future. We need climbing arborists, we need propagation specialists, we need to have these additional people within our organisation. We currently only have 3 operational staff and 131 hectares to work with. So the imperative nature of the Masterplan for species conservation and for us to be able to show people those problems, it's also imperative for us to survive. So the Masterplan has formed a real integral part of our Trees for Our Future campaign, and that's available again through our websites. Please have a look at that. And if you can help, please get in contact. We don't ask for a significant amount of money. We don't ask for a significant amount of time with regards to terms. They are all on a 3-year term. Our naming rights partner will be $100,000 a year, New Zealand dollars, 100,000 New Zealand dollars a year. The eco zones are priced at $50,000 New Zealand dollars a year. The eco regions at $10,000. Collectively, if we get all of those partnered and sponsored, we have the ability to create that $1.5 million a year, which will allow us to employ those staff. So it's imperative for us to be able to do this. The Masterplan has been set up for us to be able to treat tree conservation here in New Zealand, Aotearoa, but also as a great platform for us to be able to build our own philanthropy and to build our own ability to be able to interact and connect. The awareness and fundraising campaign that is Trees for Our Future is just those 2 things. It's about awareness. We want to be able to interact and collaborate with as many different organisations and NGOs that have got tree conservation at their heart. But we also need to make sure that the Masterplan works for us from a monetary perspective, that we can have people supporting us to be able to pay for those important people that are going to make this 100-year Masterplan actually work. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've got something out of what our Masterplan is trying to achieve. And so please check out eastwoodhill.org.nz for all of any other information and how you can give. So kia ora and thank you.